Well, friends, welcome back to the Clinical Entrepreneur Podcast. As promised, I'm bringing back my friend Blaine, and we are going to talk about what we meant to talk about. We got a little sidetracked as we do, but today we are really going to get into this whole concept of decluttering. And I don't know about you, but if you took a peek in my closet or my computer, my desktop screen, everything gets saved to my desktop. Everything. There's probably 3,000 items on my desktop on my computer. And my IT guy always says, that's not good for your computer. I'm like, I know, but I just need to declutter. So, Blaine, let's talk about how we can do this in a real world example and how this clutter affects our performance.
Yes, Rhonda, thank you for having me back on. We had such a great time last time, so excited to be here. And you have great listeners, and you're providing great value. So I'm happy to be able to come back and add some value in this topic of decluttering. Now, decluttering, what the first thing is to think about when you actually get serious and do some decluttering. How does that make you feel, right? So how do you feel when you straighten up a desk or opt out of, 10 email newsletters that you really don't need? How does that make you feel when you start to
Oh
declutter?
man, it's amazing. I just actually was just recently was able to go to my home in Las Vegas, and I hadn't been in my closet because I had been gone from home for quite a while, and I hadn't been in my closet for a really long time. And it was one of the things I was the most excited about doing was going in my closet like, "Oh, what kind of clothes do I have in here?" And I started looking through the clothes and I thought, "I've been a year. I hadn't been home in a year." I thought, "I've been a year without these clothes. Do I really need these clothes?" And
Right.
I filled up 2 green garbage bags full of clothes and shoes that as Marie Kondo would say, I just gifted them somewhere else. And to look in my closet and see all of that, empty space, so to speak, there's not clothes just, crammed in and shoes on top of one another. It was like I felt like I could honestly, Blaine, I felt like I could kinda take a breath, like, "Oh, this is
Yeah.
good." Yeah.
E exactly, and people feel lighter, richer meaning sometimes they take the donation or sometimes they sell stuff, right? But you feel richer, lighter, more organized, less
Yeah.
stressed, right? A
Yeah.
lot of times the mess is the stress, right?
Oh,
So you
so true.
feel so much better, and we'll talk a little bit more about the, magic of tidying up by Marie Kondo, where she asks you to hold something and say, does this still spark joy? And if not, release it to someone else, right?
Mhm.
Someone else in the world, could definitely use that, but you feel better. One little tip on the closet, which is quite interesting, is my wife will turn the hangers around, at the beginning of the year, and then at the end of the year, you can kind of see all when you wear something, you take it off the hanger, and but when you put it back the regular way, so that at the end of the year, you can see what outfits
Um,
have I not worn for a year, right? And simply just by
um,
turning the hangers around,
that's a
which
great idea.
is kind of interesting. But
Um,
you do feel this kind of, it's easier to do things once you've decluttered. You tend to accumulate less stuff once you go through kind of a big declutter, right?
right.
And so I run these things called a declutter day, where you spend the whole day decluttering. So we'll talk about some of that, and also, but understanding, like, why do we clutter? Like, why do we collect things, right? And if you think about it, with clutter is simply kind of a form of indecision, right? So you don't know where the thing goes, or you're not sure if you maybe want to keep that thing, right? So these things kind of pile up, and it's kind of a form of indecision. So it's important, though, that we sometimes we find security in possessions, like emotionally. There might be
Yeah.
reasons that you're hanging on to stuff, and you think the more stuff you have, the more value you have, which is not true. We recently moved out of our house of 22 years, and that was a major
Oh,
decluttering.
man.
Emotionally is a little tough. And many things I just took pictures with my phone, and moved on, from that stuff. But there is this, you don't want to make decisions about stuff. You feel like you don't have time to return things back to their place.
Mhm.
Marie Kondo looks for you to have everything has its home. And at the end of the day, it wants to go back to its home, wherever that is in your home. So setting aside, that's a little tip too, setting aside some time. I call it loose ends time, but I always end each day. I got 15 minutes at a minimum. Sometimes I'll schedule a little more, but 15 minutes of just loose ends time. Just let's get everything, a little ending routine to the day. Let's get things back in their place, right? Getting things, put back to where where they need to be. But let's talk. Okay, so let's first talk. And in this area of decluttering, there's different things. There's like physically decluttering stuff. Then there's the mental side, right? So
Yeah.
just like your desk gets messy, your mind gets messy with a lot of stuff. Some good, some bad. So we'll talk about that. But there's decluttering your mind, and then nowadays we all have these little devices,
Oh,
smartphones, tablets, computers, laptops. And so there's a digital declutter
I
component
need
as
that.
well.
Yes, I do.
All
Mhm.
right. So now the thing I like about digital decluttering is that is something that I find I can do kind of on the run, on the fly. I'm waiting in line somewhere. I just have these little islands of time, 5 minutes here, 3 minutes there. And during that time, that's a great time because you're usually carrying your phone with you to begin to do that, digital declutter,
You could even do
of
like your pictures. You have thousands of pictures and sometimes they're duplicates and you could just start to clean through the pictures and save the ones that you want and get rid of. That's a really good idea.
Yeah, yeah. So the pictures, I don't know if people would want to admit how many pictures they have, right? I mean, I have tens of
Lots.
thousands of
I
pictures
know.
on
Me
my
too.
iPhone, and again, yeah, sometimes I'll go through and I'll just delete ones that I don't need anymore. Others I'll put a little heart on and then they go into a special folder. And most devices you can build folders and you can sort them,
Right.
into other folders. Some people just load them up into the cloud and have somebody else kind of sort them out by type or by date. So there's this area there can be places where you can delegate some of that decluttering out to other people as well. But let's start on the physical side, right? So when
Okay.
you start physically decluttering, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you go very quickly, right? And so you want to make a pass through things and decide, is this something that I want to dump, just throw it out, it's no good anymore, no one can get any use from it? Is it something I want to donate, right? Is it something I want to donate, right away? Or I'm not sure. And so that's kind of decide later, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is you want to make that fast, quick decision and you want to make progress because if you open up the box of old photos and you start to go through the old photos, you're
It's a
done.
suck hole. It's a sinkhole. It's
Right.
awful. You could be
Right.
there
So
for
that has to be the later. So some people use big tubs, some people just make piles, dump, donate, or kind of defer, and decide later, right? But you want to go as fast as you can, and you want to see and make progress as fast as you can. So there's a lot of
yeah.
decide later. That's okay. You open up that picture box, decide later. No problem. But that's the key, is making a fast path, pass through it. And then you feel like you've accomplished something, right? Even
That's
just
so good.
like you said, getting 2 trash bags of clothes to donate, you feel really good, about that. So that's a big key to get started. The other thing that, well, we used to call it the purge box, but my wife, when our kids were young, we would, and you could do this with kitchen utensils. We did it with kitchen stuff too, is we had too much stuff. And
Yeah.
so what we did is we had this box, like let's say we put some of the kids' toys in this box and we put it out in the garage. Now, if they asked for the toy within the next month or two, hey, what happened to such and such toy? We'd say, I don't know, maybe the toy fairy will bring it back tonight. And we go out to the garage, get it and bring it back. But I would say near 80% of those toys are the ones that we kind of selected, hey, they're not really playing with anymore. They didn't want those. They didn't want them
Right.
1 month, 2 month, 3 months later, and then we could donate and get rid of
Right.
them. So
Right.
there's a little bit of a deferring, but you get it out of the way, right? There's been times where my wife has said, you got to clean this home office, and I'll just get a banker's box, and in it all goes to the banker's box. It all goes in there. Now, if I need something, I can still get that out. But many times, months will go by, and I haven't got into that banker's box, and so then it could either be
Yeah.
shredded or thrown out, right?
And I'm going to jump in there because I
Yeah.
think this is a really key point for those of you that are listening that whether you're working at home or whether you have a brick and mortar, you've got a physical office, but all of us has an office, a place where we have our things. And you reminded me, Blaine, of the time that I actually had team member, a staff person come in. I don't remember what the situation was, but she came in and she had to literally clean a bunch of stuff. I think I had some stacks of things and whatever. I'm a things out person. So I always tend to have things out all the time. And it makes me crazy. And I have to like really discipline myself to keep things, put things in their home like consistently. So I love your tip about that 15-minute rule, 15-minute at the end of the day. But anyway, she came in and she picked up all these stacks of paper and she put them in this bankers. And there was probably 3 or 4 bankers boxes full of just things, folders and, books that didn't have a home, things that weren't in their home. And I remember walking into my office going, oh my gosh, what'd you do with my stuff? My stuff's gone. Where's all my stuff? What happened to my stuff? She's like, it's all in these boxes right here underneath this table. It's all here. So if you need it, you can find it in these 4 boxes. And I remember feeling a little like, oh my gosh, what just happened? But sure as a world, those boxes, I tell you, I might have gotten in them twice.
Right.
And those boxes just sat there. And finally, when we moved out of the office into a different office, different building, I just said, I haven't even looked at them. If I haven't needed what was in there in 2 years, gone. And it was hard at first. It was really hard to do at first, but it was the best. I'll never forget that. So your example about the banker's box and
Yeah, the
cleaning everything
declutter
up.
box, we'll call it
Oh
the
my
declutter
gosh.
box. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, so good. And you mentioned that book, The Magic, Life-Changing Magic of Tidying
Tidying
Up
up.
by Marie
Yeah.
Kondo. And in that book, her basic premise is that when you're going to declutter something, you get it, you take it out and put it in the open. Like, let's say I did my books. I had probably over 300 books in my little home office. And so she said, I did what she said. I took them all out and you take them all down, take them all out. And then one by one, you hold it and you look for a little intuition feeling like, does this still spark joy? Do I
Yeah.
need this?
Yeah.
Do I want this? But does it still spark joy for me? And if not, then you let it go, right? And I donated probably at least 2/3 of my books, doing that. And then I had all this extra space. And then I had the books I just wanted. And then when I put them back, I put them in a certain order. You know, it was marvelous. But really making sure not only like, do I still need this? No, it's more like, does this still spark
Yeah.
joy? Is this
Yeah.
still energetically kind of adding to my life? Or is it a possession that's just kind of weighing you down, right?
And it's easy to let the emotional connection outweigh that intuition. And there's a distinction there. You could be emotionally connected to a book that someone gave you, but if it's not serving you, then to Marie Kondo's point, like gift it away and let it find a new home. And then you get to be the giver of that book in the same way that it was given to you. You get to be
Yeah.
able to pass that along and give it to someone else. So sometimes I think we do get kind of possessive with our possessions. We want to keep things.
Yeah, yeah, and psychologically that feels good, but the switch that you just flipped there is to realize you're holding back the potential of that thing to do that good in somebody else's
That's
life, whether
right.
it's a piece of
Yeah.
clothing, whether it's a book, right? And release that out to the world, and so the world kind of, karma-wise can give you something back, right? So
Yeah.
that's really key. So you got the office, and at home, it's always funny that whenever we do these kind of declutter days, is we have yet to go through a declutter day and not find something expired. So whether that's in the pantry, whether that's in the fridge, whether that's in the medicine cabinet, I mean, there has yet to be, we'll do a couple of these a year, but we always are finding those expired things. So
Yeah.
really be aware of that and go through and get rid of some of that stuff. You're going to feel better. You're going to feel lighter, and there's also, certain things that you should only use for a certain period of time. And so we kind of use that declutter day like a toothbrush, right? So on a toothbrush, maybe that's supposed to only be a month or two that you use it for. Pillowcases, or
Yeah.
pillows, different things have a shelf life too, right? So really be
Right.
thinking about all those things that you're kind of coming in contact with, and again, you're going to feel good. You're going to feel lighter. You're less likely to buy tchotchkes and little things when
Yeah.
you do those declutter days and get rid of those things. And you feel like physically, I feel lighter at the end of that day, and so you kind of look forward to those days. So for you, anything else on the physical side? Then we'll kind of move into the mental side. Anything else
No,
for you on
I I loved what
physically
you just said
decluttering?
about the little tchotchkes. It made me think that like now in my closet, I have all this open space. Like I sorted through the hangers. I pulled out some of the wire hangers that I had, replaced them with the wooden ones that I like. And it's clean now. Like it's all cleaned up. And so the thought of bringing something else in there, like I really hadn't thought this all the way through, but just I'm imagining if I were to go shopping, I now would think differently about making a purchase and adding it to my clean closet
Yeah,
because
right
it's
on.
like it's got its energy back. I think
Right.
that's the best way I can describe it. Like I don't want to violate the space by just putting a tchotchke shirt in there.
Right.
Right? I
Right.
don't wanna
Yeah.
violate my clean space, and so I think that's such a good way to say it. It's easy to put another shirt in a closet that's already over full because
Right.
that chaos and confusion and clutter is already there, and you think, "Ah, what the heck? What's one more?" But
Right.
now I'm
Right.
gonna be very selective about what I allow into my sacred space in my nice clean closet. So, this is so
So
good.
you're gonna save money as well. We were just on a trip to New York City, and I realized, there's so many little tchotchkes I could buy, and I didn't buy any. I just didn't buy it because I didn't want to, like you said, bring it into that environment, right? So you kind of have your physical space. And then the other thing that you can declutter is also your physical body. Before we go to the mental side, is your physical body, right? And so really, be aware of that, right? So part of a declutter day is you're also looking to how can you declutter your body, of toxins, right? And so most people ask you this question to see, they say 70% of the toxins leave your body in one method. Do you know what that method is?
Well, you're gonna leave the physical toxins, the things that your body's gonna naturally get rid of. You're either gonna eliminate them through the stool or through the urine, one of the 2.
Well, 80% of the toxins that leave your body actually come through your
Oh, the
breath,
lungs. Oh, yeah,
the
yeah. I
lungs,
was
right?
thinking actual detoxification, but you're right. You
Right.
breathe a lot of that out every single day.
Yeah. So this idea of on a declutter day is get into some really deep breathing, right? Where you're really using the
Oh,
diaphragm and you're really filling the lungs to their capacity,
right.
and do the deep breathing is good. But then on the physical side, yes, drinking more water, right? And there's certain foods that help you to detox and to eliminate toxins, right? So be aware of that. And exercise is another great one to move. Your blood,
Mhm.
your heart
Yeah.
pumps the blood, but you got the lymphatic system that needs movement to pump all that fluid, right? So getting some good exercise in that day, drinking a lot of water, and helping your body. And a lot of times, I like food. I like food. I like to eat food. And I like the taste of my favorite foods. But when I'm eating, I'm also realizing that from a detoxification and a decluttering of my body, that what I'm eating is really fuel. And so I try to eat, a lot of what I eat based on the fuel aspect of it, right? Like fruit, vegetables,
Yeah.
lean proteins, things that are going to fuel my body. So thinking about that, because that helps you, your body is can be overrun physically with toxins, which then you got low energy. Now you can't get stuff
Right.
done,
Right.
and so really look to that. And then shifting from that is into the mental side, right? And so how do we begin to, declutter, the mental side? How do we remove the head trash, right? And so one of the simple things I like to share with people is the solution to pollution is dilution, right? So the
Yep.
solution to pollution is dilution. So, if you remember the old like scientific beaker and it had a dark liquid, you add the clear liquids in, it gets lighter and lighter
Yep.
until it's clear again. And it's the same thing for you is that every day, there are toxins, there is head trash coming in, and you've got to, I call it a mind shower, but you've got to kind of figure out how can get rid of that, right? How can you wash that out? How can you dilute that down? And so the book that I recommend on that side, The Secret Code of Success by Noah St. John,
Yeah.
talks about ways that you can remove that head trash. Now, for me, I need I'm probably about a 3-to-1 ratio, meaning if I have like an hour of negative thoughts, bad interaction with somebody, life hits me too hard. I need about 3 hours of positive stuff to dilute down that negative, right? So for me, that's
Wow.
stuff like Jim Rohn. He's my mentor. I can listen to his program. He's got a program called The Power of Ambition. I love that.
Yeah.
I can listen to that for a couple of hours and I'm right back. I'm back up at 100%. but realizing, there were times in my life when I was younger where I might be a 10 to 1. I mean, like, I need 10 hours to get that other bad hour out of my head, right?
Yeah.
And you'll know it's gone when it's gone, when you don't think about it again. It doesn't come back up for you, and some people have some head trash that keeps coming up over and over. And so then you really have to kind of dilute that down with the positive side. Other things on the mental side is people, right? And so how can you, purge out, declutter, and distance yourself from negative people? And we all have negative people, in our lives. And so what you want to do is you may be able to just eliminate that person and not eliminate them physically, but from your life, and just not interact with them anymore. And most of the time, people can't do that if it's a family member or it's a friend or something like that. But what you want to
Yeah.
do is you want to increase the distance to the negativity. And what I mean
Right.
by that is someone may, give me a phone call, but then I'll text them back. Just creating the gap, widening the gap. Somebody texts me, and then I'll wait a little while and maybe I'll send them an email, and just kind of widening the gap there.
Yeah. That's a
You
great
know,
trip.
or how quickly you respond to that person. Don't respond right away. Widen the gap, and maybe even widen the gap to your notification from that person, meaning you can mute people. You can, you can quiet people. You can take a break from people on social media. Right now, Facebook and these other platforms allow you to kind of mute a person out. You don't have to defriend them, but you kind of mute them out. So look
Yeah.
to create that space, for you in that life. What about for you? You have any things on the kind of the keeping the mental side decluttered and clean?
Yeah, I think this is such a good conversation because as practitioners, like we are surrounded all day long with people who are, I don't know, I don't want to say dumping on us, but you're dealing with a patient who's got
Yeah.
health challenges and they're complaining or they may have some life drama going on. And not every interaction is like that, but there are very often times at the end of the day when you just think, oh my gosh. And that's the moment that I love the term you use, bath shower or a head shower.
Yeah. Mind
Sorry,
shower.
mind shower. And you just
Yes.
said that's what I'm thinking, like, how do I get my mind in the shower so that I can wash away all of that stuff, dilute it all down? Even the news can be that thing, watching the news or being around a toxic family member or, responding to feeling like are a slave to your inbox. And at the end of the day or at the end of that period of time, you're just drained, or social media can be another drain, as you mentioned. So
Yeah.
I really love that term of just, it's kind of imagining standing underneath and having that mind shower where you just wash all of that away, get all of that out again. But it means that you have to be very conscious about what you're going to use. What's your clear water that you're going to use to do that?
Right.
So whether it's Jim Rohn or whether it's another podcast that you love to listen to, or it's music, it might be music for you that does
Sure.
it. It might be a walk that does it. It might be, whatever it is, but finding that thing that's going to allow you to clear that negativity out, because you can't be your best self if you've got all this negativity and head trash going on in there.
100%. And a lot of people, if you just try a news media and social media fast, right? Just go on a little fast for whatever you can do. If you're a super social media person, maybe you can only start with an hour of fasting. But can you build that up to a half a day, right?
Yeah.
Could you build it
Yeah.
up to a full day? Or how many hours? Just a little, just kind of better your best and separate yourself from that. And then the other thing that I think is helpful, the way you dilute it, is to, like you just said, know yourself. And no, I like to call them personal lifters. Like, what are those things that lift you up? And a lot of times music, like I can put
Mhm.
on some music from the 80s, that kind of lifts me up. Now if I'm too hyper, I can use music to kind of calm me down, classical music, study music, things like that. But knowing what your personal lifters are, what books, maybe there's a spiritual practice, maybe it is meditation or exercise, or, I love the Peloton bike. Like, what are those things that lift you up so that you're kind of ready to, to kind of go, to be able to lift yourself back up
And you
when
want to
that
get
negative stuff
going.
hits?
Yeah. I'm ready
Right.
to get going again, but I can't do it with this big, heavy, like dragging a ball and chain behind you.
Well, and a couple of other things, a lot of people on the, decluttering of the mind, you might tend to have bad habits or negative habits. And so, maybe there's something that you're doing, like you're over checking, a social media, right? Or you're eating foods that you shouldn't eat, right? When I ask people, I ask people, and they can always answer the question very quickly. Name 2 or 3 things you know you should be doing, but you're not. And then name 2 or 3 things that you are doing that you know you should not be doing. And everybody can name those, right?
Everybody. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and decluttering the mental side of things, it's important to begin to remove those bad habits, right?
Yeah.
For example, maybe it's like over checking, email was one that I used to have, right? And so a couple things there on bad habit elimination. One is figure out like why do you want to, what is the why behind wanting to get rid of that, right?
Yeah.
And
Right.
really dig into the painful, if there's a painful side. Like for me, I'm wasting time in my email. I can jump into my email in the morning and then it ruins my morning if there's a bad emails in there or demands on my time. And I feel the weight of the world, like there's all this negative stuff. That's
Yeah.
why I want to not do email first thing in the morning, right?
Right.
And so knowing that is knowing your why and digging into the why, especially the emotional side of that, the painful side of it, to help give you the power to surf past that urge to want to do that. And then the second part is a substitute habit. So you've got to, the void is just going to make you think about it more, and you need a substitute habit, right?
Yeah.
So for me, instead of checking my voicemail or my email first thing in the morning, I have a little Bible app I do, and then I have this mind shower. I use a couple different apps. One is called Headspace.
I love
Another one's
Headspace.
called another one's called Calm. Insight Timer is a good one as well. Abide is kind of a Christian one. But anyway, I have a bunch of choices, but that's what I do instead of the email. So you've got to have a substitute habit. And then the third part, so knowing the why, the substitute habit is to minimize or remove the triggers and the cues. So when you fall off the wagon and you do the bad habit, in that moment, try to figure out, okay, what led me here? What got me here? Right.
Right.
Like in
Right.
the case of email, it's if I open up, the email program and I see all the unanswered messages, or in my phone, if it shows me, oh, you've got all these emails, I've got to turn off the rings, the dings, the bings. I got to minimize those triggers. And some of the smartphones, like the iPhone, is now allowing you to like have apps not work during certain times, right? So you can
Yeah.
say like, hey, before 9 o'clock, the email app doesn't even, come on. It's like it's,
Yeah.
turned off. So you can kind of pre-think some of that stuff. But anyway, that's a big part of the negative side of things, is to remove those bad habits. And then the last part is you have negative thoughts. And so some people, this is a bigger problem than others, but you have these thoughts that are not productive, and they're negative thoughts. Typically, it's about ourselves. I'm too this, I'm not enough
We're all
that.
guilty. Everybody does it. Yep.
Yeah. So you have these. And so I want to give you one tool that you can start to use on this. And what you're going to do is you're going to but yourself. Now, after you start butting yourself, then you can start to but other people. And it's very helpful. So what this does is it's a very fast switch to get your mind to try to see the other side, right? So, a common thing is like a lot of people who own their own business say, I don't have enough time. Now,
Or
if
I'm
you say,
too
I don't have enough
busy.
time, I'm too busy, I'm too
Busy.
busy, I don't have enough time. And if you say it long enough, you're going to believe it more and more. And your brain looks for ways to prove that's true. But
Yeah.
if you say, but, and then let your mind answer, I'm too busy. Yeah, but I control my schedule. Yeah, but I could schedule less. Yeah, but I've got an
So,
accountability partner. Yeah,
so
but, yeah, but, yeah, but.
you're not filling in the but. You're saying but, and then letting the mind come up with the answer.
Let your mind fill it in. Yeah,
Oh, I
but.
love that.
Now, it's interesting when you start to but other people, you don't give them the answer, but your mind will start to give you a bunch of answers. And then you might have to prime their pump a little bit, but you're just saying, yeah, but.
Right.
And so any negative limiting belief you say, just always say, yeah, but, right? Yeah, but.
That's the takeaway for me right there. I loved all this conversation. That one, okay, for all you listeners that are in my programs and you're in my world, you just wait. The but person is coming. I'm using that. I love that. I'm using it with my kids and everything. That's like brilliant.
Yeah, and it's a fast way to turn around, to kind of get your brain working for you, right? And another thing in that book, we talk about The Secret Code of Success by Noah St. John. The other thing he introduces is affirmations. Now, you've probably heard of affirmations?
Yeah, but never affirmations. What's that?
Yeah. So affirmations are when you affirm something. You say like, I am healthy. I am healthy. I am
Yeah.
healthy. And
Yeah.
your brain over time is going to try to help you get healthy.
Right.
Affirmations is where you put it in the form of a question, again, to get your brain to help you move in the right direction, give you suggestions to help you move in the right direction. So you, the affirmation would be, I am healthy. I am healthy. The affirmation would be, why do I find it so easy to be healthy? Right. So when you say the question, why
Ooh.
do I find it so easy to be healthy? Then but your brain says, because you threw out all the junk food, because you challenged a bunch of people to eat a piece of fruit every day, because you eat a salad every day, because you take vitamins, because you exercise. I mean, these things come out. And then the key is to act upon, what the mind gives you. But putting it in that, why do I find it so easy to to get new clients? Why do my clients love me so much? Right. And so you begin to form those answers and get your brain kind of working with you, instead of, like, sometimes you say, I am healthy. Your brain says, no, you're not. I am healthy. No, you're not. And
Yeah,
it's like a
I think
battle.
everybody has that well, I call it a tug of war,
Yeah.
because it's people will complain and say, "Well, yeah, but I can't say that right now because it's not true." Like, I am prosperous, or I am wealthy, or I have an abundance of clients. Your brain is like, "What the heck you talking about? Of course you don't, dummy. Look at your
Right.
schedule. Of course you don't." And it's
Right.
so hard to make that happen, but that reframing that into an affirmation in the form of
Right.
a question. Why do I find it that everyone loves to work with me? Why do people
Yeah.
love working with me? Why is my schedule full all the time? Why is it getting fuller every day? However you're going to phrase that. That's such a great
Yeah.
way. It's a brain hack, just a brain
Yeah.
hack.
Yeah. Why do clients, why do clients love me so much?
Yeah.
Why do new clients come to me every week?
Yeah.
And again, it puts you in the frame of the action, right? So I talked about Waiteba, I think maybe last time, what you think about, you bring about. And so it's helping your brain, giving a little turbocharge to start thinking about that, right? Why do clients love me so much? Why do I get new clients every week? Because I do this, or I do that, or I have this advertising, or I
Right.
have these referrals, or blah, blah, blah. And you begin to see a path
Yeah.
to it. And again, every day, it's the battle of the brain chemicals, right? And so we're just trying to give you a little edge, a little win. I like to say win early, win often. I
Yeah.
like to get the good brain chemicals going early in the day. Like that first 30 minutes when I wake up is always kind of pre-planned, ready to go, guaranteeing me some kind of a win for the day, right? So when I wake up, I open up my phone first thing. That's what I do every morning, and habit link the opening of my phone to doing the Bible app in the mind shower. Well, now I've got those two things in my day. And
Right.
even if I just do, I mean, I like a 10-minute mind shower, but if I only get a 3-minute mind shower, I'm okay with that. But literally in the first 15 minutes of my day, I've had some solid wins.
That's so good. And we talked about that in the last podcast, right? Where we talked about habit anchoring, and
Right.
linking those things together so that you can start to, with you yourself or with your patients, for the listeners, but you start to link the positive behaviors to something so that then it makes it so, so, so much easier to get it done. This is so good. I knew we needed to do this second podcast. I knew we had just scratched the surface last time, but this one is where my big takeaway is definitely going to be the yeah, but
Yeah, but there we
100%
go.
the yeah, but, and then I'm going to be very conscious about the mind shower. I'm really
Yeah.
going to be
Yeah.
conscious about that because I know how to do that. For me, it's music. For me, it's music. That's how I get my game back on. But I'm thinking, how is it that I'm going to be able to do this and be even more proactive with this? So
Yeah, and
I'm
maybe it's in the
excited.
morning, right? Maybe
Yeah,
you habit link it to something in the morning. If you have a cup of coffee or something that happens for you every morning without willpower, happens
right.
all the time, link the music to that so that you get, even if it's just 3, 5 minutes, it's going to make a big
Right.
difference to get you in the right, frame of mind, the right lens, because that lens that we look through, that really determines what happens, because that's
Huge.
how you process the
Yep.
world, right? And it's not really what happens that determines your life future as much as your response to what happens. That makes all the
Exactly.
difference. And
Yeah.
how you respond is kind of how you're looking at it. If you're looking
Yeah.
at it through a negative lens or a victim lens, you're going to find that stuff. But
Right.
if you're looking at it for, the empowering side of things, the, taking from the day, not being run by the day, you're going to find that every day too.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, Blaine, it is such a pleasure to talk with you again. As usual, you definitely over delivered and you give me lots and lots to think about. I so appreciate it. So, where can everyone get a hold of you? Again,
Yeah, I think the simplest, I did a TEDx talk You just go to blainetedx.com, BLAINETEDX.com. You can opt in there. You get a transcript and you get to see the talk. I've got a couple 100,000 views on it. And I
Nice.
talk about Waitaba in there, but I give you kind of a little bit of a mind hack so that you can take whatever you want to bring about in your life and remind your brain of that thing about 100 times a day. So it's pretty
Good.
cool. It's good. And then we'll be connected. You'll have my email. I run some super results days. I do run some declutter days and
We
things like
definitely
that.
need to know about the
Yeah.
declutter days for
Yeah.
sure.
Yes. And so I run those, run 3 super results days a month and love the declutter one. It's a great one. It's a great one to be in a group of people where everyone's
Right.
decluttering, for the day
For the
because
day. Yeah, exactly.
the energy gets really
Yeah.
high as the day goes on.
Yeah. Well, Blaine, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you
Thanks
so
so
much for having
much.
me on. I
Okay,
really
take care.
appreciate, yeah, really
Yeah.
appreciate being on. And I'll leave you with this. The bad news is time flies. The good news, you're the pilot. So pilot well, listeners.
Yeah, baby, we're on it. All right. Thanks, Blaine. Take care.